Hello everyone, this is Endgame Arts with another boxing, another offline product game review. This is Resident Evil 8 Gold Edition for the PlayStation 4, but being played and tested on my PlayStation 5. To jump right into it, this physical copy here is just the base vanilla version of the game, so the on-disc version is 1.0. Now sadly, there was an update available. This update size was 840 megabytes big and will take you to version 1.13 since the time I get this video. Now, like I've always said and do, I play all my games completely offline with an unregistered account, and I didn't experience any massive game-breaking bugs or issues. And as well, I was still unlocking trophies with my unregistered account. Now, to jump right into the meat and problem of the game, is that this is the Gold Edition, and it just basically is a reprint or resell of the first released version of the game, which is a huge disappointment. The redeem code comes with all the bonus extra content, which is the Shadows of Rose expansion, as well as the third-person mode, as well as a few extra bonus Mercenaries mode content that you can play. That's all on the redeem code. No extra content or new stuff or updates or anything like that is on the disc, which is extremely disappointing and very frustrating because Capcom really built this trust with collectors and physical collectors, because many of their gold editions or complete editions or game of the year editions, especially like the Resident Evil games, has always had the extra content on disc. Maybe it didn't come with absolutely everything, but generally it was at least a more updated version of the game, and it did have the bigger expansions and DLC content on the disc. So it is infuriating and frustrating that this Gold Edition is just a reprint and resell of the first vanilla version of the game. So I've already covered and talked about Resident Evil 8 or Resident Evil Village, and going into this, I was hoping my opinion could maybe change. About a 2-year hiatus, maybe 3 years. I can't exactly remember when the game first came out, and I wasn't a big fan of it. And coming back to it, it was just more disappointing. Please keep in mind, I know this is for a lot of newer people and everything like that. We do not review games on this channel. We review the physical copy, and the physical copy is just a bad product because it's just the base vanilla version of the game, and it's just got all the content on the redeem code, which mean we do all of our stuff completely offline with an unregistered account. If the content is on the disc or cartridge, then it doesn't exist. So this is just straight up a bad product. Do not buy the Gold Edition. You're better off just buying the vanilla version of the game. But going into it, this was played and tested on my PlayStation 5, and I could point out a few little things. I didn't have the frame rate issues that I noticed a few times, and when I played it on my PlayStation 4 Pro the first time, I didn't have any frame rate issues, but I did use the ball puzzle, these little mini game you can play where you roll this ball around this castle or a labyrinth they build, and you get like a reward at the end if you can get through it. Some of them, the frame rate kind of dropped when I was rolling the ball. It kind of dropped, then kind of fixed itself, then sometimes it stayed fixed, and other times it just stayed at a lower frame rate. I can't really say if it's 30 frames per second, it could have been like 45, but the frame rate did take a little bit of a dip, only at using that. There was no really other issues. I remember a flashlight issue when I first time I played it. I didn't have that issue this time around. And other than that, the game ran perfectly at the beginning and end. So it's still a good physical copy. It's still a good vanilla version of the game. It's just frustrating. This Gold Edition, there's no reason for it. There's no point for it because they didn't update the physical copy. But I do want to point out some little other things that I didn't really talk about when the game first came out and I covered it. To avoid a little bit of spoilers, I didn't want to talk about it, but I won't do no spoilers as well, but I will talk about some things that might bug some people, and that is, again, the third-person mode, the mode that they added into the game, is not free. That's frustrating, that's annoying. I do not know why they did not include that as a free update to the game, so you have to pay for that content. I find that very frustrating because I personally do know people and seen other people like YouTubers and stuff like that talk about how they can't play first-person mode games because it makes them nauseous or dizzy, and I have personal people I know in my life who are that same way. So to not have third-person mode is very frustrating because that's more of like an accessibility feature, and it's weird that people can remotely be okay with it. They're charging money for that. As well as if you're a vegetarian, there is a bit of an animal killing in the game. Now, most Resident Evil games, that was just like an extra little thing you could do, maybe get some minor loot. While in Resident Evil 8, these are permanent upgrade stuff you can get, like maximum health, blocking better, and as well as make you run faster, and so on and so forth. So if you're not fond of animal killing, or if you're just straight up a vegetarian and you don't want to see eating meat, you can't avoid that in this game unless you don't want the permanent stat upgrades. Now, I'm not a vegetarian, and I have no problem with eating meat and all this other stuff, but I did have a little bit of a problem with the fact that you can chase these animals around with a knife and hack at them with the knife, like the pig or the goat, and it takes a while to kill them, and it actually feels really bad to just hack away at them. I tried like shooting them in the head to make it quick and painless, but I could never get a one-shot kill with the headshot. It was just really weird. I don't know. It's a little odd moment in the game. As well as that, this is going to give my personal opinion. I think Resident Evil 8 is one of the most disappointing Resident Evil games in terms of being a number sequel. The plot of the game is awful. This is one of the worst plot stories in Resident Evil's history. And the game is also littered with plot holes. Now, maybe that expansion they did, the Shadow of Rose, fixed some of these plot holes. I doubt it. But some of them are just, like, the developers didn't even play the original Resident Evil 7, this is a sequel to that. Bad writing, some of the characters' writing and dialogue is very cringy and very odd and out of place at times. And as well, if you've played Resident Evil 4, I mentioned this in my other video, and I played this one, Resident Evil 8 is straight up a ripoff of Resident Evil 4. From both of them have castles, both of them have some village, it's cult worshipping, both of them have some factory building system, as well as both of them have the merchant upgrading stuff, both of them have your male character trying to save some girl character, and there's a lot of other stuff I could talk about how much of it's a ripoff. There's a giant lake monster in the game. It's straight up, there's no shame about it. It is a ripoff of Resident Evil 4, and I do not know why anybody thinks that's perfectly okay. If this was like a fan-made game or like an indie game and they just wanted to do something that their love for Resident Evil 4, I maybe would have been a little bit okay, but this is straight from Capcom, and it's like the developers wanted to make Resident Evil 4 but they weren't allowed, so they looked at Resident Evil 4's homework and tried to change it up just a little bit to make it look different. I don't know, it bugged me a lot, and it bugged me back then, it still bugs me now. And the game is just boring. The environment, the atmosphere, there's literally no atmosphere in this game. It's just atrocious. Nothing was scary in this game. I don't even count this game as a horror game, but I know some people do, and for some reason it is categorized as horror. This is just a straight up Rudy Tooty point and shooty game. Nothing more than that. And I just don't like Resident Evil 8. Coming back to it, it wasn't really having that much fun. I beat it in like 11 hours. I just basically sprinted throughout the entire game. I mean, there's so many issues. Like, nothing really wrong with the boss fights. I heard that's most people's complaints, and that was not the problem. It's enemy designs. This is probably Resident Evil's most laziest enemy designs I have ever seen. Now, you could summarize them. Here, I'll tell you. You got almost basically 3 enemies with some subcategories. But the first enemy, caveman with club. Seriously, that's what they look like. They look like cavemen with clubs, and that's about it. And then you get to the castle, and then you have women with rags. That's it. If I didn't even tell you that they were women, you probably wouldn't even know that. And that's all they are, just women with rags. There's not even a variance to them. They're just women with rags, and just one rag. And then you have man with metal. That's it. There's all your enemies in the entire game, excluding bosses. Then you have some minor mini bosses like the werewolf creatures and stuff like that, which is like the only interesting mini enemies you fight in the game. I don't know, guys. I know some people really love this game, and it's like overwhelmingly positive, high reviews, but it's like, I don't know. I don't see it. The game has poor atmosphere, poor environment, poor characters. I do not know what people's obsession with Lady Dimitrescu is. She's actually one of the worst characters in the game. She has no character to her. The only interesting character was the doll lady, and her part of the game was really good. They try to make sure that it's like survival horror, but it's even done poorly in it as well. It's just, I have no idea why this game gets so much praise. It's very forgettable. It's uninteresting. Mechanically, it's not the most engaging, and it's just a straight-up rip-off of Resident Evil 4. Now, granted, do weapon upgrading and stuff like that, and getting up the treasures and selling them and stuff. Tons of fun. I love that. That's like one of my most favorite mechanics. But just having one favorite mechanic that I like doesn't exclude with all the other issues in this game. I know a lot of people love it, but I just don't. And I ran through it. I know a lot of people have requested me to cover the gold edition, so here it is. It's a bad product. I mean, if you're interested in buying the vanilla version, I highly recommend just that one. Last time I looked, it's only going for like 20 bucks new. You might as well buy that one than this gold edition because it's just a resell of the vanilla version at a higher cost. So, it's up to you what you want to do. Again, I play all my games complete offline with an unregistered account. I don't care that this DLC is a redeem code. I do not do redeem codes. If it's not on the disc or cartridge, it doesn't exist, and it gets categorized as a bad product if the content isn't on disc. That's how we do things on this channel. If you don't like it, then you're at the wrong place. So, thank you all so much for watching. I will try to leave links down in the description for the gold edition. I have updated my vanilla first release that I covered on PlayStation 4 to update the thumbnail to include my thumbs up and thumbs down system, and I fixed that one. The vanilla first release gets a green thumbs up, like a green style half thumbs up. Well, this gold edition is a straight up red thumbs down. It's a bad product. Don't even worry about it. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye bye!